Assalamu alaikum, peace to the family. Assalamu alaikum, shalom, peace to the streets. I'm your brother in the struggle, Brother Minister Ali, and today we would like to share some more important information with you regarding the law of attraction versus repulsion. Remember, if you have a law that attracts, there must be a polar opposite to that law because universally speaking, everything has an opposite. So there's a law that repels. Without the balance, there's nothing but chaos. There's no peace, truth, freedom, justice, and equality, or what our ancestors call Mayat. There's no equilibrium in the universal order of things, okay? So you can't have an effect without a cause, if you will. Now, I mean, and we're going to get into some of that. And I want you to understand that where we're going to come from, we're going to go, I'm going to take y'all way in the past before Master Fard Muhammad. Then I'm going to take y'all into the future after Master Fard Muhammad regarding Messenger Elijah Muhammad's teachings on this science. Now, I mean, and everything the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us, contrary to all the political grandstanding and all that, it is all a spiritual science, okay? For those of you that may not be familiar with it, this is the Kabbalion. This was written about 22 years before Master Fard Muhammad came to the wilderness of North America, about 23 years before the Honorable Elijah Muhammad got knowledge of himself. This is physically one of the books that Master Fard Muhammad gave to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on a list of books to study in the Congressional Library of Congress. Okay, this book was written, well, I'm not even going to say written because it's way older than many think. This is the English version, if you will. This book was originally published in 1908. Okay, our Savior began teaching publicly on July 4th, 1930, Friday Jumu'ah, in Detroit, Michigan, in the wilderness of North America, in the Black Belt section of Detroit, Michigan. Okay. My book, this is an old book that I wrote called The God in the Mirror. Now, this book, this is when I coined the term Godologist. A Godologist was used basically to try to explain everything that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us is about self-awareness, becoming a self-master, having knowledge of self, wisdom of self, understanding of self, doing for self, believing in yourself. Don't let them spook you up with all the technology of the devil's world out here. Now, the Kabbalion, how can I put this in layman's terms? Basically, let's put it like this. We believe that there are 12 major and 12 minor scientists. These scientists each specialize in a distinct science. Some study the science of the mind. Some master the weather. Our lessons, lost our minds, lessons, what makes rain, hail, snow, and earthquakes. Now, I mean, some study economics. Some study nature, the universal order thing, cosmology. Some study nutrition, how to eat to live. You know what I mean? Some study technology. You know what I mean? How to build our mother planes. Before this mother plane in 1929, we had flying vehicles 66 trillion years ago. I know it sounds impossible and crazy to you, but with God, all things are possible. You know what I mean? So for those of you that may not be familiar with the 7 universal laws or the 7 cosmic laws, I want to read directly from the text for a moment just to give you a glimpse into this particular science. Now, I mean, again, this is some 20, this is 1908. So this is, I would say he's known by so many names, but for the sake of argument, let's say his name is Tahuti. Now, I mean, that's, to me, is his most accurate and righteous name. We would call him, if we seen him today, now I mean, we say Tahuti. Now I mean, he's known by a whole bunch of names, but let's say he's known by Tahuti. But we would be like, he's a scientist, all right? There are those that believe in the 12 major and 12 minor scientists in the nation of Islam, and there are those that study spiritual sciences around the world, and they're aware that if you actually look at, I do this in one of my books in the science of geography, I show you that all of the major nations are 12 in number. And each one has their own spiritual science. Like say China's over here, say India's over here, say Africa's over here. But they meet up in Arabia in the secret vaults of Mecca. Now, I mean, every 25,000 years. 12 are major, 12 are minor. 12 of them have accurate knowledge, wisdom, and understanding on the reality of God. The other 12, they just believe in God, but not in a spiritual science sense. They do not have as much information, if you will, as the other gods. But they all pass their knowledge down from son to son to son, and they've been doing that for the past 66 trillion years. And during the past 6,000 years, these human beings eating to live, as taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in this day and time, we've been had that science out. They broke it down like this. There are so-called 24 scientists. There are 24 hours in our day, all right? There are 12 constellations. The people spooked it up into astrology, but it's really astronomy, all right? These 12 and 12 equals 24. So we have 3 sets of 8, if you will. You have 8, say you have 8 hours plus 8 hours, that's 16 hours. If you add another 8 hours, that's 24 hours. But the 24 scientist, he thinks mathematically, so he'll be like, to be more exact, it's 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 46 seconds in the solar day, or Ra day, or Ray day, or in the sun day. All right. So that planet that's rotating on her axis 1,037 and 1/3 miles per hour, she's going around the sun every 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 46 seconds in a solar day. She's rotating on her axis in a mathematical way with a circumference of 24,896 miles, according to Messenger Elijah Muhammad. So we extract 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 46 seconds in a solar day, because time, according to the Messenger in the Theology of Time in 1972, is created by motion, meaning that if you put some sand in an hourglass and you turn it upside down, if you leave it alone, it has no time because the sand's not moving. But if you turn that hourglass upside down like they did in ancient Kemet or Black Egypt, you'll see the sand moving, and you can calculate it, 1 Allah, 2 Allah, 3 Allah, and you're like, okay, I got the hour, and I can extract from that 24 times and get 24 hours. Okay, so time is created by motion. If your watch battery dies, you don't know what time it is because the battery is not working. There's no motion. There's nothing moving. The gears in there no more. The Egyptians invented all the machinery that you see in this day and time. Not saying they physically made the camera and the digital watches and all this, but they gave the premise or the foundation. They created the pulley, the lever, the incline, the decline. These simple processes, like if you're trying to move a giant rock, say the rock weigh 300 pounds, you know what I mean? And I'm trying to move this rock and I'm only 150 pounds. I can't move this 300, it's twice my weight. But if I get a fulcrum, or if I get a little small rock and put it underneath and put a piece of wood underneath it, and I pull that lever gives me mechanical advantage now. Now that big giant boulder moved, that pyramid to start building, because here I am, a little person, and I can easily move this giant rock because I'm using mathematics, you see? So if you have horses and they're able to carry certain weight, a certain distance at a certain speed, you could get horsepower. And now NASA puts that science in that car. So your car is actually operating off of horsepower from ancient Kemet or ancient Egypt. Everything goes back to our ancestors. Okay, with that said, let me take and go into some of the basics of these 7 principles. Before we go into the 7 Hermetic principles as they're commonly known, let me read from page 57. All right. This is the basic philosophy. The lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding. Everything simply is just not for everybody. Everybody is not going to get this. I mean, a lot of people see a lot of people look at it like, oh, so-and-so, he got 2-3 million views of his video. That attraction is an attraction that in the universal order of things is where you find the masses. That's the wrong path. You see, the way it works is like broad on the path of destruction, technology, and falsehood, spookism is where you're going, because that's where the people's mind under Satan is attracted to. Opposites attract like repels. It's a universal science here. So the message teaches us great numbers are not necessary to do great things. See, you don't need great numbers to do great things. The message teaches us, as the Bible teaches us, now I mean, few are on the straight and narrow path. Now I mean, as the Muslims and Islam and Orthodox Islam teach, it's the Sirat al-Mustaqim, that straight and narrow path you find few, but on a broad path of the devil's technology, that's where you find the masses. So where you see the masses running at, you'll see me always running the opposite way. You notice you always see I go solo. I'm a lone wolf. I'm intentionally like I could go down to rallies, meetings, churches. I could go meet up, whatever. Now I mean, I could play that game, but I'm not into that. Now I mean, I'm serious about the life-giving teachings of Elijah Muhammad. So my thing is, I'm not trying to give inspiration. I'm trying to give information. There is something we have been doing for the past 6,000 years. Think about it. I ain't talking about 500. I'm talking about 6,000 years, because our scientists was intentionally put to sleep to allow the white people to rule the planet Earth. But since we outnumbered them, they had to put us to sleep psychologically in order to rule and maintain dominance on the face of the planet Earth. Now that time is up and the mental resurrection of our people has begun. So the old system that kept the devil in power and kept the people asleep is being reversed today. See, we look at it like this. Let me give you in our, say our, not our generation, but in our sphere of wisdom in America, for example. We had Nat Turner, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Denmark Visa. We had the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, Noble Drew Ali, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Dr. Khalid Abdul, Malcolm X, Father-in-Law. We still got the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, Salas Muhammad. You know, we just had so many powerful, not to exclude the sisters, because we had the Family Mays, we had the sisters all over, the MGT sister class. We had so many strong goddesses and gods trying to mentally resurrect us. But the time was not yet extinguished for the devil's civilization. So in that leadership, it was designed where the people, the mass, the 85%, was basically looking for a 5% to lead them, because the 10%, the rich, the slave makers of the poor, was misleading them. So the scientists of Islam structured it where they set up mathematical thoughts that made the masses say, okay, let's go over here with the Garvites. Now I mean, and Garvey's gonna break these chains. Now I mean, let's go over here with the Moors. Let's get with the Black Hebrews. Let's get with the Nation of Islam. Let's get with the revolutionaries. Let's get with the Black Panther Party. Let's get with the hustlers. Let's get with the gangsters. Let's try this. And our people was experimenting with themselves. Now I mean, for 6,000 years. But in that experimentation, the end result is November 2020. We're ready to go into 2023. Before we go into 2023, the people are still mentally in slavery in 2023. We're still financially stressed. We're still got killings all in our hood, black on black violence, diseases. We still suffering obesity. We don't still eating pork chops and ham hocks. I mean, we're still letting the devil educate our people. We're still seeking salvation in the Democrat Party, the Republican Party. We're still trying all these things because we're looking for that Messiah complex. We're looking for some leader to come do for us what we ultimately must do for ourselves. And this is where the angels of the law come into play. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches that there's 7 of them. And these 7 angels, the devil's not even enough for one of these tough cats. Know what I mean? But the angels are coming with something different. They're not trying to get you to become a follower of them. That's why I always tell you, don't follow me. I upset a lot of people. Hey, what you mean? We don't need temples. We don't need, because for 6,000 years, that was the psychological teachings that was necessary at that time and under those conditions and dispositions for our people, for them to have a sense of liberation without the devil slaughtering us, know what I mean, and giving the devil the ability to rule and dominate the planet Earth. Now, in the end, you're going to be a self-believer. You're not going to look up for God. You're going to look in for God. You're going to be a law. You're going to see a law. You're not going to go from Hebrews to Negroes. You came as Yahweh. You'll be Yahweh in the end. You was Jesus. You'll be Jesus in the end. You was God. You'll be God. You cannot be other than yourself. It's just that you consciously and subconsciously are now being mentally resurrected into the knowledge, wisdom, and power of yourself. And the wisdom in yourself is going to guide yourself. You're going to master yourself. You're going to be able to extract from the 10% world the riches of the 10%. And as a 5%, you'll be able to provide for the 85% and establish universal independence by taking and unifying and electrifying all of the gods and goddesses' wisdom that came before us. So you'll be like, oh, I need Marcus Garvey. I need Noble Drawley. I need the messenger teachers. I need to go to college. I need to get a job. I need to start my own business. I need to defend myself. I need to turn the cheek. I need to love my brother. I need to hate some brothers. I need to love this sister. I need to separate from myself from these sisters. So you're going to get the Mayat within yourself, because each one of us, like each tiny atom of the universe, it has an ability to attract stuff that it needs and repel things that it don't need. If it can't repel, it's not going to be balanced out. It's going to self-destruct. So we're going to lose many, know what I mean? But you got to understand the concepts that we believed all our lives, such as life and death is 2 separate things. Like he's living now and he's dead. No, he never was born. How can he or she have a Earth day or birth date? I mean, they can have a date of birth, but if you go back to when they was in that mother's womb, they was already alive. They was moving inside of her. Before they was in her for 9 months, they was alive in their father's testicles. Before they was in their father, they was already alive, swimming around in the water. Before that, they was swimming around, they was moving around in the atomic soup of the universe. They was moving around in the black plasma or the black man's mind. Before anything, it was without time. You never was born. That's the technology that we was taught for 6,000 years. I know this sounds crazy right now, but you can't kill God. You could shoot him in the head, stab her in the heart, lynch him, burn him, whatever. And every single part of you will manifest new life. Your death produces life. So you can't die. You can transform, yeah, but you can't physically die. That's a European trick, a European construct. So you don't fear death. Not that you think some white ghost going to come float out our black bodies and shoot up into the white clouds and you're going to see your great-grandmom and your great-great-grandpa. No, the dead is dead. But there's a science there that the Holy Quran teaches us, speak not of those that are slain in the laws, whereas though they're dead. I mean, if they died a righteous death, no, you know how alive they is. You know how many new people are here because of each one that dies. This is the law that we're ready to get into. So From old Egypt have come the fundamental esoteric and occult teachings that which have so strongly influenced the philosophies of all races, nations, and peoples for several thousand years. Egypt, the home of the pyramids and the Sphinx, was the birthplace of the hidden wisdom and mystic teachings. From her secret doctrine, all nations have borrowed. India, Persia, Chaldea, Media, China, Japan, Assyria, ancient Greece and Rome, and other ancient countries partook liberally at the feast of knowledge, which the Hierophants partook liberally at the feast of knowledge, which the Hierophants and masters of the land of Isis so freely provided for those who came prepared to partake of the great store of mystic and occult lore, which the masterminds of the ancient land had gathered together. Now, when we speak of Isis, we're the simple thing, like you hear all this esoterical modern day stuff, like people think that things is new. There's nothing new under the light of the sun. It's like they was rapping thousands of years ago. Now, I mean, the people in ancient Persia, when you look at them doing that prayer, they were breakdancing thousands of years ago. They was tagging the walls doing hieroglyphs or graffiti, meta, thousands and thousands of years. It's none of that is new. That's our culture. Hip hop goes back 76 trillion years ago. It sounds crazy right now because we thinking like, oh, it started in New York. The people in New York didn't start in New York. Think about it. Now, I mean, so let us take and delve into this for a moment. All right. The principles of truth are 7. He who knows these understandably possesses the magic key before whose touch all the doors of the temple fly open, the Kabbalion. When the ears of the student are ready to hear, then cometh the lips to fill them with wisdom. The 7 Hermetic principles upon which the entire Hermetic philosophy is based are as follows. Now, this is just the condensed version. This is just a cue card version. It's 7 of them. The principle of mentalism, the principle of correspondence, the principle of vibration, the principle of polarity, the principle of rhythm, the principle of cause and effect, the principle of gender. These 7 principles will be discussed and explained as we proceed with these lessons. Principle number 1. Principle number 1 is tied to all of the other principles. But principle number 1 is the only principle. Principle number 1 is the most important principle. Principle number 1 is the principle of yourself. Listen up, fam. The principle of mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is mental. This principle embodies the truth that all is mind. It explains that the all, which is the substantial reality underlying all the outward manifestations and appearances which we know under the terms of, quote, the material universe, the phenomena of life or matter or energy, and in short, all that is apparent to our material senses is spirit, which in itself is unknowable and undefinable, by which may be considered and thought of as a universal, infinite living mind. Okay, so basically, when we say the all is mind, we like everything that we see, everything that we cannot see, everything that we believe and everything that we disbelieve, everything that was written and yet to be written and is not written is nothing but a figment of the black man's mind. Every atom, every sun, every planet, every person, every ant, every fish, every bird, it's all mathematics, meaning that it's nothing but a figment of your mind, not just your imagination. Okay. The living mind. It also explains that all the phenomenal world or universe is simply a mental creation of the all, subject to the laws of created things, and that the universe as a whole and in parts or units has its existence in the mind of the all, in which mind we live and move and have our being. This principle, by establishing the mental nature of the universe, easily explains all of the varied mental and psychic phenomena that occupy such a large portion of the public attention, and which, without such explanation, are non-understandable and defy scientific treatment. An understanding of this great hermetic principle of mentalism enables the individual to readily grasp the laws of the mental universe and to apply the same to his well-being and advancement. The Hermetic student is enabled to apply intelligently the great mental laws instead of using them in a haphazard manner. With the master key, remember the messenger said, "On this man I have laid the key." It's a science here. With the master key in his possession or in her possession, the student may unlock the many doors of the mental and psychic temple of knowledge. I know you think that the physical, beautiful temples, the beautiful mosques, the beautiful universities, the beautiful schools, the beautiful houses, these physical places are on the plane of the gods, but they're not. What's on the plane of the gods is the houses or the institutions of your mind. Okay. The second principle is the principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above, the Kabbalion. This principle embodies the truth that there's always a correspondence between the laws and phenomena of the various planes of being and life. The old Hermetic axiom ran in these words: as above, so below. As below, so above. And the grasping of this principle gives one the means of solving many a dark paradox and hidden secret of nature. There are planes beyond our knowing, but when we apply the principle of correspondence to them, we are able to understand much that would otherwise be unknowable to us. This principle is of universal application and manifestation of the various planes of the material, mental, and spiritual universe. It is a universal law. The ancient Hermeticists considered this principle as one of the most important mental instruments by which man or woman was able to pry aside the obstacles which hid from view the unknown. Its use even tore aside the veil of Isis to the extent that a glimpse of the face of the goddess might be caught. Now, when we speak of Isis, we're really talking about a universal family here. We're talking about Usar, the black man, Aset, the black woman, and Heru or Horus, the child. So Usar or Osiris and Aset or Isis and Heru or Horus symbolize the sun, the moon, the star, or what we call knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, or freedom, justice, and equality, food, clothing, and shelter, love, peace, and happiness. It's the mathematics of what we call today Islam. The messenger teaches us in 1972 in the Theology of Time, Islam is mathematics, and mathematics is Islam. He explained to us, if you want to understand the laws of a law, you must study the universal laws of the universe. There is nothing spooky. So remember this as we move on. So let us now move to the third principle, the principle of vibration. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. This principle embodies the truth that everything is in motion. Everything vibrates. Nothing is at rest. Facts which modern science endorses and which each new scientific discovery tends to verify. And yet, this Hermetic principle was enunciated thousands of years ago by the masters of ancient Egypt. This principle explains that the differences between different manifestations of matter, energy, mind, and even spirit result largely from varying rates of vibration. From the all, which is pure spirit, down to the grossest form of matter, all is in vibration. The higher the vibration, the higher the position in the scale. The vibration of spirit is at such an infinite rate of intensity and rapidity that it is practically at rest. Just as a rapidly moving wheel seems to be motionless. And at the other end of the scale, there are gross forms of matter whose vibrations are so low as to seem at rest. Between these poles, there are millions upon millions of varying degrees of vibration, from corpuscles and electron atoms and molecules to worlds and universes. Everything is in vibratory motion. This is also true on the planes of energy and force, which are but varying degrees of vibration, and also on the mental planes, whose states depend upon vibrations, and even on the spiritual planes. An understanding of this principle with the appropriate formulas enables Hermetic students to control their own mental vibrations as well as those of others. The fourth principle, the principle of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. The Kabbalion. This principle embodies the truth that everything is dual. Everything has two poles. Everything has its pair of opposites, all of which were old Hermetic axioms. It explains the old paradoxes that have perplexed so many, which have been stated as follows. Thesis and antithesis are identical in nature, but different in degree. Opposites are the same, differing only in degree. We're going to get into this. The fifth principle is the principle of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. The Kabbalion. This principle embodies the truth that in everything there is manifested a measured motion, to and fro, a flow and inflow, a swing backward and forward, a pendulum-like movement, a tide-like ebb and flow, a high tide and low tide. Between the two poles which exist in accordance with the principles of polarity described a moment ago, there is always an action and a reaction, an advance and a retreat, a rising and a sinking. This is the affairs of the universe, suns, worlds, men, women, animals, mind, energy, and matter. The sixth principle, the principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law, the Kabbalion. This principle embodies the fact that there is a cause for every effect, an effect for every cause. It explains that everything happens according to law, that nothing ever merely happens, that there's no such thing as chance, that while there are various planes of cause and effect, the higher dominating the lower planes, still nothing ever entirely escapes the law. The Hermeticists understand the art and methods of rising above the ordinary plane of cause and effect to a certain degree, and by mentally rising to a higher plane, they become causers instead of effects. The masses of people are carried along, obedient to an environment, the wills and desires of others stronger than themselves, heredity, suggestion, and other outward causes moving them about like pawns on the chessboard of life. But the masters, rising to the plane above, dominate their moods, characters, qualities, and powers, as well as the environment surrounding them, and become movers instead of pawns. They help to play the game of life. The seventh principle is the principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes, the Kabbalion. This principle embodies the truth that there is gender manifested in everything, the masculine and feminine principles ever at work. This is true not only of the physical plane, but of the mental and even the spiritual planes. On the physical plane, the principle manifests as sex. On the higher plane, it takes higher forms, but the principle is ever the same. No creation, physical, mental, or spiritual, is possible without this principle. An understanding of its laws will throw light on many a subject that has perplexed the minds of men and women. The principle of gender works ever in the direction of generation, regeneration, and creation. Everything and every person contains the two elements or principles, or this great principle within it, him, or her. Every male thing has the female element also. Every female contains also the male principle. If you would understand the philosophy of mental and spiritual creation, generation and regeneration, you must understand and study this Hermetic principle. It contains the solution of many mysteries of life. We caution you that this principle has no reference to the many base, pernicious, and degrading lustful theories, teachings, and practices which are taught under fanciful titles and which are a prostitution of the great natural principles of gender. Such base revivals of the ancient infamous forms of Catholicism tend to ruin mind, body, and soul, and the Hermetic philosophy has ever sounded the warning note against these degraded teachings which tend towards lust, licentiousness, perversion of nature's principles. If you seek such teachings, you must go elsewhere for them. Hermeticism contains nothing for you along these lines. To the pure, all things are pure. To the base, all things are base. So these are the 7 principles of the Kabbalion. So we're going to take you to a cosmic law on cycles that ties into all of this. Everything moves in rhythmic cycles. This is according to the law of rhythm, okay? The term rhythm means a regular succession of motions, impulses, changes, and the like. The essence of the definition consisting in the idea of regular succession or regularity of alternations. The term cycle means an interval of time in which a certain succession of phenomena is completed and then returns again and again. The term periodicity means state or being periodical, that is, performed in a series of recurring circuits, or cycles, repeated activities, or recurring intervals of time. So we just covered just a brief summary of the 7 principles. Now, to help you better understand these principles, we're going to go to page 187. It reads, in fact, I'm going to start at 184. The wise ones serve on the higher, but rule on the lower. They obey the laws coming from above them, but on their own plane, and those below them, they rule and give orders. And yet, in so doing, they form a part of the principle instead of opposing it. Now here we have the wise ones serve on the higher, but rule on the lower. They obey the laws coming from above them, but on their own plane and those below them, they rule and give orders. So again, Messenger Elijah Muhammad teaches about these 24 scientists. You have 12 major scientists, the higher ones. They rule over the 12 minor scientists. But if you were to meet one of the 12 minor scientists, that minor scientist, the minus of the 12 minor scientists would be the supreme God over you in this day and time. Meaning that those in authority are under authority, and those under authority are in authority. So you may follow your minister, your captains, your secretaries. Yakub may have the doctors, the cremators, the nurses, they may have laws set up, but you always are law unto yourself. You may have the law of the secular land. You may have, say, the law of the state. Then you have the law of your county. Your county be like, well, in Philadelphia, we have laws in Philadelphia. But then your father may say he has laws in his house. And your mother be like, well, I got laws on this house too. And the big brother may tell the little brother, well, I got laws in the bed, in my bedroom. And the big sister may tell the little sister, I got laws about my stuff. And the little sister be like, well, I got laws too. When she go to school, you have this hierarchy that just naturally keep going on and on and on, if you will. So that principle is really what the Kabbalah is trying to get us to look at. It's not trying to say that we just have to, like slaves, obey your masters. As you know, we say in slavery, or during slavery, if you will, there were hierarchies even amongst the slaves, meaning that the house slave had more authority or more mastery over the field slave, okay? The strong field slave had more mastery over the weaker field slave. So that is just a natural thing. If you go into the belly of the beast, you'll just find these same hierarchies amongst so-called gangs, amongst corporations, amongst politicians. That system or that principle is always there. So let us look at them in modern language, if you will. The principle of mentalism, the all is mind. The universe is mental. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that Master Fard Muhammad says that